On a rainy day, as Rintaro is making his way to school, he passes a lot of people who appear scared when they see him. Inside the classroom, Shohei and others were lamenting the gloomy weather when a loud thud interrupted them. Rintaro had walked squarely into the doorframe, his default scowl looking even more intense than usual. Greeting him, Saku pointed out his exceptionally fierce glare and noted that Rintaro hadn't yet switched to his summer uniform. This prompted Ayato to mention that the students at Kikyo Girls' School had already made the seasonal wardrobe change. Before Rintaro could respond, his bag spilled out on the floor. As he wordlessly gathered his things, his friends exchanged worried whispers, debating if they should ask what was wrong. Saku gently intervened, assuring them that if he wanted to tell them, he would. In truth, Rintaro was entirely consumed by thoughts of his recent aquarium date with Kaoruko. The unfamiliar intensity of his feelings left him feeling unmoored and distracted. His reverie was broken when Shohei enthusiastically asked if the group could hang out at Rintaro's house on Saturday since they've never visited before. Rintaro hesitated, afraid they might judge him for coming from a family owning a bakery. Sensing his reluctance, Shohei quickly offered his own home instead, but Rintaro swallowed his pride. Realizing he shouldn't project his insecurities onto his friends, he agreed to host them, and they all got excited for Saturday. On Saturday, the boys were genuinely thrilled to discover that Rintaro's home was a charming cake shop. Seeing their enthusiastic reaction, Rintaro let his guard down, realizing his caution had been entirely unfounded. Moments later, Kyoko stepped out of the kitchen to warmly welcome the group. After brief introductions, Saku politely handed her a bag of traditional Japanese treats as a thank you gift. Noting his mother's radiant smile, Rintaro led his friends upstairs to the family's living quarters. Downstairs, Kyoko informed her staff that she would be stepping away to host. When an employee remarked on her joyful mood, Kyoko beamed, explaining that it was the first time Rintaro had ever brought friends home. As she turned back toward the storefront, she was surprised to see two familiar faces walking through the door. Upstairs, the boys were settling in. Shohei was admiring a family portrait, with Saku pointing out the strong resemblance between Rintaro and his brother. Suddenly, Kyoko called up the stairs, asking Rintaro to come down. Peeking over the banister, Rintaro froze. Standing in the shop were Kaoruko and Subaru. Kyoko cheerfully explained that the girls had originally come to buy cakes, but assuming they were all friends, she had invited them to join the gathering. Subaru, feeling a bit stiff in the unfamiliar environment, politely introduced herself and thanked Kyoko for her hospitality. Kyoko returned the sentiment, genuinely thanking Subaru for being a friend to her son. Meanwhile, Rintaro and Kaoruko locked eyes, both immediately stiffening. Kaoruko quickly apologized for the sudden intrusion. Rintaro tried to brush it off coolly, but the memory of her bright smile at the aquarium flooded his mind, flushing his cheeks. Catching the exchange, Kyoko gave a knowing, delighted grin and slipped away to prepare dinner. While the boys and Kyoko were over in the dining area, Kaoruko quietly asked Subaru if her appearance was fine and stressed over not putting in enough effort to look as cute as possible. Subaru smiled and affectionately patted her head, which only flustered Kaoruko more. Rintaro happened to catch a glimpse of this exchange. Overwhelmed by the sheer awkwardness of having Kaoruko in his home, he impulsively and lightly punched Saku in the arm to distract himself. Once dinner was served, Kyoko left the teenagers to enjoy their meal and returned to the shop. Mid-bite, Shohei suddenly asked Rintaro a question that had been on his mind. Having seen pictures of Rintaro with natural black hair, why did he decide to dye it blonde and pierce his ears? Rintaro explained that the change happened in middle school. He was initially reluctant to elaborate, but seeing Kaoruko's genuine curiosity, he began to explain. He confessed that as a child, he struggled deeply with loneliness and had no friends. One day, his family visited a local patisserie. The cake he ate was incredible, but what caught his attention was the pastry chef, a man with striking blonde hair and pierced ears who looked overflowing with joy. Struck by a pang of envy, young Rintaro wished he could find that kind of happiness. On the walk home, he timidly asked his parents if he could change his appearance to match the chef's. Because they ran a customer-facing business, he expected an immediate refusal. Instead, they warmly agreed, filling him with a rare sense of joy. He admitted the drastic change only made his peers avoid him more, but since he had already given up on connecting with others, it hadn't bothered him. Realizing how bleak his story sounded, Rintaro noticed the room had fallen completely silent and began to panic. Shohei broke the quiet, asking if Rintaro's personality had changed since middle school. When Rintaro told him he hadn't, they all unanimously agreed they would have been friends with him even then, and think he's amazing. When Kaoruko warmly echoed the sentiment, Rintaro locked up, completely overwhelmed by a moment of pure bliss. Just around the corner, Kyoko had been listening. The story brought back a vivid memory of her own, the day she had dyed her hair blonde and pierced her ears to match her son's. Her husband, Keiichiro, had gently asked if she was doing it just for Rintaro. She had affirmed it, recalling how utterly defeated their son had looked before that day at the patisserie. She had wanted to take that terrifying first step with him so he wouldn't have to face the world's judgment alone. Keiichiro had hoped Rintaro would thank her one day, but Kyoko replied that her only wish was for others to finally see the kind, gentle boy beneath the intimidating exterior. Standing in the hallway now, she realized that day had finally arrived. Composing herself, she entered the dining room carrying a beautifully decorated cake, much to the group's delight. As she turned to head back downstairs, Rintaro stopped her. Quietly but sincerely, he thanked her. As he walked back to his friends, Kyoko allowed herself a few quiet tears of joy before returning to the shop. With dinner finished, the group gathered around the TV to play video games and brainstorm summer break plans. The idea of setting off fireworks at the beach was a massive hit, until Subaru pragmatically reminded them of the looming final exams that stood in their way. Shohei and Rintaro immediately slumped in despair, painfully aware of their dismal academic records. Smiling at their dramatic reaction, Kaoruko cheerfully suggested they all organize a study group to face the exams together. The study session at the family restaurant got off to a slow start. The group had barely opened their notebooks when Shohei arrived late, immediately declaring that they should eat first. Kaoruko is unsure of what to order and asks Rintaro, who is sitting beside her. Saku and Ayato notice their interaction and chuckle at each other as they have figured out Rintaro's crush on Kaoruko. Once they finished eating, Shohei began to doze off. Saku tried gently patting him awake, while Rintaro explained to Kaoruko that their friend had stayed up late the night before. Seizing the opportunity, Kaoruko tempted Shohei back to alertness by pointing out the dessert menu. Turning back to Rintaro, Kaoruko gently offered her assistance with the coursework. Rintaro hesitated, then politely declined, expressing a firm desire to untangle the problems on his own first. His determination left Kaoruko with a flicker of genuine admiration. Ayato adds that he's been spending a lot of his time studying, earning an embarrassed look from Rintaro. Flustered but resolute, Rintaro confessed that he refused to lapse into his old habits of academic neglect. He needed to take accountability for his own education, though he quickly reassured Kaoruko that he wouldn't hesitate to ask if he truly hit a wall. As the session progressed, Subaru noticed Shohei staring blankly at her workbook, his expression a mix of bewilderment and dread. When she questioned him, Shohei voiced his disbelief at the sheer thickness of the volume, comparing it to the drastically thinner material used at their own school. Subaru is left dazzled as she recognizes it as the workbook she used in middle school. As the afternoon wore on, Rintaro finally hit a wall and turned to Kaoruko for guidance. However, as he looked over, he caught sight of her face twisted in intense concentration, an expression identical to the one she had worn at the library days prior. Distracted by the observation, Rintaro completely tuned out her explanation, forcing him to sheepishly ask her to repeat it. Meanwhile, Subaru found herself completely stuck on a complex problem. Shohei confidently intervened to assist, only to be utterly defeated by the equation upon closer inspection. Taking over, Saku silently reviewed the problem and solved it with effortless precision, leaving the entire table amazed by his intellect. When Subaru asked for a breakdown of the solution, Saku's explanation was painfully barebones. Ayato immediately cut in, bluntly informing Saku that he was terrible at instructing others. Attempting to vindicate himself, Saku put Rintaro on the spot, but Rintaro internalized the failure and blamed his own intelligence for not grasping the logic. Realizing the awkwardness of the situation, the group finally ordered the desserts they had used as leverage earlier. A few days later at Chidori High, the tension officially broke. Rintaro and Shohei learned they had successfully passed their final exams. A few students who failed pleaded to tell them how they passed, and Shohei told them they had a great teacher, leaving the students to think it was Saku. Shortly after, Makoto arrived to deliver the official send-off for summer break. He urged his students to put the books away and enjoy their youth, leaving them with a poignant reminder. Their time as students was far too fleeting to spend entirely on studying. He further added that they should go out, seek adventures, and build memories they could look back on for the rest of their lives. Energized by the speech, a group of boys gathered outside after school, debating how to properly kick off the season. They turned to Rintaro to make the executive decision, and he settled on a trip to the bowling alley. As they're making their way over, Rintaro realizes his whole class has grown closer since the sports festival and feels a new sense of motivation and gratitude that he's being relied on. He concludes that it started when he met Kawaruko, when at that moment, a horde of Kikyo students, including Subaru and Kawaruko, are walking on the other side of the road. Shohei tries calling out to them, but is quickly stifled by Ayato and Saku trying to not let the rest of the class figure out they know each other. One of them recognizes Kawaruko, who stood outside their school gate, resulting in Shohei taking a hit to the jaw. While Shohei loudly insisted he was fine, he noticed Rintaro standing completely frozen, staring into space. As the group resumed walking, Shohei caught up to Rintaro and asked if he and Kawaruko were dating. The suddenness of the question caught Rintaro entirely off guard. His immediate, clumsy denial only confirmed the truth. Catching Shohei's knowing smirk, Rintaro dropped to a crouch, hiding his burning face in sheer embarrassment. Shohei attempted to offer some comfort, but Saku quickly dragged him away to give Rintaro space. Ayato hurriedly told Rintaro they wouldn't tell anyone and ran off, leaving Rintaro anxious that Kawaruko had figured out his feelings too. At the bowling alley, Shohei and Saku immediately began dominating the scoreboard with effortless strikes, while a completely distracted Rintaro threw a disastrous gutter ball, failing to knock down a single pin. Needing a moment to clear his head, Rintaro stepped away to get a drink. Ayato watched him walk off with quiet concern and followed him to the beverage station. As Rintaro filled his glass, his mind raced, trying to dissect why his friends assumed he and Kawaruko were a couple, and, more fundamentally, what it actually meant to date someone. Ayato broke the silence, stepping up to the machine. Rintaro apologized for being so visibly detached, but Ayato waved it off, placing the blame squarely on Shohei for throwing him off balance with such an invasive question. Rintaro takes this moment to ask Ayato what it means to date someone, to which he cheerfully answers he doesn't know. Rintaro feels reassured, knowing he isn't the only one who finds it confusing. Ayato confessed that he had never been in a relationship either. The two shared a quiet, grounded conversation about the complexities of romance, concluding that while there were no easy answers, it wasn't something to fear. Ayato expressed how much it meant to him that Rintaro felt secure enough to lean on him, noting that Rintaro's growing emotional honesty was proof of how much he trusted them. Affirming the bond, Rintaro listened as Ayato offered a final piece of advice. Stop overthinking the dynamic with Kawaruko. No matter what happened, the group had his back. Rejuvenated and clear-headed, Rintaro returned to the lanes with Ayato. Seeing Shohei and Saku's team riding a massive winning streak, Ayato suggested they knock their smug friends down a peg as payback for Shohei's earlier interrogation. With a rare competitive fire in his eyes, Rintaro accepted the challenge. Together, they mounted a fierce comeback and secured the victory. Later in the evening, once they're home, Rintaro collapsed onto his bed to find his phone buzzing relentlessly with notifications from the group chat. The conversation was moving rapidly, with plans already solidifying for a summer beach trip alongside Kawaruko and Subaru. Rintaro struggled to find the right words to properly thank Kawaruko for her help during finals. Before he could send anything, a direct message notification popped up from Subaru. Once he opened the chat, he found a message telling him that Kawaruko's birthday is on the 22nd of July. For the next episode, check the link in the description. Thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel.